All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So XRP is dropping right now, Bitcoin's dropping, the rest of the crypto market is dropping right now. So this is a price emergency. So let's jump on the charts and let's talk about what's happening. So overnight, Bitcoin has pulled back from $119,000 to currently $118,000. And it's not the craziest pullback, but is the pullback over, and what should you expect next over the next few weeks as we go into August, which is going to be one of the most pivotal months for crypto? Because in one of my previous videos, I talked about a potential fake out that could be happening on the chart for XRP and the rest of the crypto market with a pump up and a final, capitulation event before we continue higher, similar to what happened to Bitcoin back in 2021. And in this video that I uploaded 20 hours ago, talking about the best Ripple XRP crypto divergence trading strategy for beginners, I'm going to be diving into that in the chart and talk about what to be looking for to get the best possible entry point if you are looking to buy XRP. Now, as always, this is not financial advice. These videos are purely for educational purposes only. I'm not telling you to buy XRP. I'm not telling you to sell XRP right now. What I am telling you to do is pay very close attention, because what we're going to discuss in this video will change the game for you forever, no matter what time you're watching this. So if the markets are rebounding by the time you're watching this, or if you're watching this a month later, this will still be relevant for you today. And we also have some big news about an airdrop that's taking place with Charles Hoskinson for XRP holders. So if you hold XRP, you could be in for a massive airdrop. So we're going to get into the total 2 chart, and we also have to talk about, what Rosie Rios, former U.S. Treasury, said about XRP and Ripple, the FOMC meeting coming up in 2 days, which also plays a part into the data dump that is taking place right now for a absolute stacked next couple days. So pay very close attention to what I'm going to share with you guys. And with that being said, let's get right to it. All right, so looking at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin has recently pulled back over the past 24 hours on the daily chart from $119,800 to $118,000. And so this right here for Bitcoin on the daily looks to me like a symmetrical triangle. And so I want to share with you guys how to properly, trade a setup like this, because the next major move for Bitcoin is going to be critical of the direction of Bitcoin over the next 30 days. Because if we break to the downside of this symmetrical triangle, then it could get very bearish for Bitcoin. But if we break to the upside, it could be very bullish. So I know that triggers a lot of people when I say stuff like that, because they're like, yeah, it could be bearish, it could be bullish. Let me teach you something, because nobody knows what's going to happen in the crypto market on the price chart. But if you know how to trade breakouts and understand how to properly set your risk management and your stop losses to minimize your risk, then it doesn't matter what happens, because you can look for confluence, you can look for breakout patterns, and you could truly understand how to trade the market. So let's talk about that in this video, specifically with divergences, to get the best sell point and to get the best buy point, regardless of whatever happens on the day-to-day or the hour-to-hour or the minute-to-minute. So if we were to look on the daily chart, we've been in a bull trend for a while. Now we are in a rally base, and we're waiting for either the next rally or a rally base drop, right? So basically, we have the rally right here for Bitcoin. Now we're setting up base camp right here in a symmetrical triangle. And so one of two things is going to happen next. It's really simple, okay? We're either going to break to the upside and continue up for Bitcoin on the daily, or we're going to break this apex of the symmetrical triangle to the downside, and we're going to come down for Bitcoin. So how do you know what's going to happen next? Here's a key thing to understand. It doesn't matter what happens next. It matters what's happening on these key indicators with confluence, so that way you can properly buy or sell at the right point and set your stop losses at a level that will minimize your losses, so you can re-enter into the markets at a better price point in the micro and in the macro. And how do you do that? Well, it's by spotting divergences. And so I'm going to cover this again in this video in real time, because of the price emergency that's taking place right now for XRP, for Bitcoin, for the rest of the crypto market. Because with this breakout right here that took place for XRP to $3.33 to basically clear this resistance right here at $3.27, it was looking like XRP was going to continue to the upside, right? However, that didn't happen, and it basically liquidated all the shorts right here that had their stop loss at like $2.30. As I said in this video right here, regardless of whatever happens to XRP in the short term, if we push higher, we could potentially come back down for a lower low. Similar to what happened on the right-hand side of the screen, if I just clear the chart for you guys with this massive fake out rally right here for Bitcoin before we saw a sell-off aggressively to the downside, and then a big fake out right here on the stochastic RSI. So right now, because the stochastic on the left-hand side of the screen for XRP is in a downtrend right now, and XRP's price is holding strong, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a move up for XRP to fake out a lot of investors. All that I'm expecting is major volatility in the short term until we clear $3.30, similar to what happened for Bitcoin right here. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis. Nobody does, because how are you expected to know what was going to happen on a day-to-day basis for Bitcoin right here when one day we're up, the next day we're down, one day we're up, the next day we're down? It's very difficult to trade ranges like this. So that's why you need to look at indicators and watch for moments when we are closer to zero on the stochastic RSI. And also check out the relative strength index as well too, for when we're closer to 30 or below 30, and then look for divergences to get the best entry point for yourself before major reversals. And so because the relative strength index is at 55 right now, we are in an uptrend forming higher lows and higher highs on the RSI. Whereas the stochastic RSI is in a downtrend right now. This is giving me mixed signals. So I'm not aggressively bullish on XRP right now. I'm also not aggressively bearish because let's say, for example, we see another push to the upside for XRP, similar to what happened right here by the 15th of June for Bitcoin, when Bitcoin rallied from like $31,000 to $41,000, faked out a lot of investors, and then boom, Bitcoin reversed back to the downside. So it's definitely not out of the possibility for XRP to do that as a massive flush out for short positions that have their stop loss right here at like $2.29 for XRP to push above that, then see an aggressive sell off to the downside before we inevitably work our way on out of here. But nonetheless, we watch the indicators, we look for confluence, and we look for divergences. And now XRP is aggressively selling to the downside. So the first thing that we need to do is top-down analysis. So top-down analysis means where you start at a higher time frame and then you work your way down. So usually we start at like the 1 month, then the 1 week, and then the 1 day. So right now we don't need to go to the weekly time frame because as you guys can see, you know, XRP has been bullish on the weekly, and it looks like we're coming back down to back test, you know, the previous high that XRP was at between the 13th of January to the 27th of January. So that's roughly around, you know, $3.03. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to come all the way back down to it, because as you can see right now, we are at these wicks right here. So this could qualify as a back test, you know, so XRP doesn't need to come down further. But one thing that's important to note on the weekly is we are experiencing a bearish cross right up here above 80 on the stochastic RSI. The relative strength index is at 63. So we recently pulled back from about 69 on the relative strength index, but this bearish cross on the stochastic is not confirmed yet until both of these cross below 80 for the K line and the D line. So this could be actually a fake out bearish cross, as we've seen happen before. Let me give you an example of a fake out bearish cross and what that looks like on the price chart right here before the last major breakout happened for XRP back here. So you guys can see a bearish cross was forming right here on the 29th of July when XRP pulled back from about 65 cents all the way here to 51 cents. And then inevitably we saw a short-term bounce right here back up to 64, and then another flush out to 42 cents. And then XRP just ranged sideways and experienced volatility above that low before breaking to the upside in November. And look at what happened on the stochastic RSI. We stayed right around 80 and above 80 for an extended period of time until this shakeout event, the final sell-off, took place to reset the stochastic right here for a major move to the upside. Now, that's important to note because if you look at where we're at right now, on the weekly chart right here, we're experiencing a potential bearish cross. But just because we experience a bearish cross doesn't mean we reset right away. Because we've seen so much momentum right here for XRP to the upside on the weekly, we then need to zoom into the daily chart. And as you guys can see right here, it's actually the exact opposite for XRP on the stochastic RSI. We experienced a bearish cross right here on the 22nd of July with that aggressive pullback and that major red bearish candle right here, bringing XRP from like $3.50 all the way down to $3. And we've seen the stochastic RSI come all the way back down here. And now the K line and the D line are at 4 and 3.56. So that's why it's important to do top-down analysis. Also, the relative strength index has pulled back from 85, and then it's now sitting at about 59 right now. And so we are not seeing confluence here that we are oversold on the relative strength index and the stochastic. If, for example, the RSI was all the way down here below 30, and the stochastic RSI was down here close to 0, then that would be confluence that the bottom is in for XRP. So that tells me that we could potentially have further to the downside to go just on the daily chart. Now, as we get more zoomed in, we're going to be talking about divergences and what to look for, because right now there's not really a divergence on the daily chart other than looking back at the past, where you can see the high from the 11th of July, and then you can see the high right here from, the 21st of July right here. And then if we look at the relative strength index, we don't really see a divergence. It was forming, higher highs right here. And then if we look at the stochastic, there was a divergence, a bearish divergence, forming a lower high. If I just zoom in here on the stochastic RSI. And if we zoom in even more on the relative strength index, let's just look at this high right here. On the 17th of July, when the RSI was at 88, we experienced a lower high right here on the 22nd of July. And then sure enough, look at what happened on the price chart. Well, the price right here for XRP was at 354. And then by the time we experienced a lower high in the relative strength index, the price was at like 358. So that was a bearish divergence as well too. And there was confluence as well on the stochastic, because we were just in a downtrend at that moment. So you could have spotted that as a bearish divergence, but that's the past. What's happening right now? We can't see any bearish divergence taking place on the relative strength index or the stochastic RSI on the daily chart, because we just saw this sharp drop and now we're seeing a potential bullish cross. So we need to zoom in even further and go into the 4-hour chart. So I like to go from weekly to daily to 4-hour, and then depending on what's happening on the 4-hour, will kind of show me what's going to happen on the day-to-day basis. Because right now, you guys can see we just experienced a bearish cross right here on the stochastic RSI on the 4-hour chart. The K line and the D line are at 56 and 81. When this orange line right here passes below 80, which is the D line right here on the stochastic RSI, then it'll confirm the bearish cross. Now, the relative strength index is at 43. We just broke below the RSI-based moving average. So let's zoom in a little bit further and let's go to the 1-hour chart. So on the 1-hour chart, we can see the RSI is at 36. We're getting closer and closer to drastically oversold beneath 30. The stochastic RSI for the K line and the D line is at 1.2 and 1.06. So we are in oversold conditions, which tells me on the hourly, we could experience a short-term bounce for XRP. But the key to understand here, to get a better entry point for yourself, is a bullish divergence takes place when we experience a lower low on the price chart and a higher low on the key indicator. So we're not seeing that yet because it's still too premature on the hourly chart for XRP. So if I were to just draw what that would look like, it would be a short-term temporary bounce while the relative strength index recovers. And if, let's say, if the low is in at $3.14, I'm not saying that it is. In fact, I'll actually give some more predictions by the end of this video, so keep watching. But if we see a short-term bounce for XRP, and if we see another lower low on the price chart, and let's say the relative strength index puts in a higher low like this, the stochastic RSI breaks up on this bounce and puts in a higher low like this, then that would be a bearish divergence or a bullish divergence on the hourly chart for a potential reversal to the upside as the price chart puts in a lower low. So the key here, just looking at the hourly chart right now, is to have some patience here. The low might not be in for XRP because we just experienced this sharp pullback right here and we are in a downtrend right now. So a short-term temporary relief rally is likely because the relative strength index, is at like 33. The stochastic is all the way at here at 1. So we could experience a short-term bounce, but be very careful because that could be a major fake out for a continuation to the downside. So what we want to do is we want to zoom in even further now from the hourly chart. I'll either go to the 45 minutes or the 30 minutes. So let's go to the 30-minute chart and let's see where we're at right now. And so as you guys can see, the relative strength index dropped to 27 and now we're at 31. We're experiencing a short-term bounce while the price is making a recovery from 314 to 316 right now. And so on the stochastic RSI, on this sell-off, we dropped below 20 and we were down here for a bit, bullish cross, fake out, bearish cross, and now we're back down here at like 4 and 2.48. And so that tells me right now on the 30-minute chart that we could rally a little bit further in the short term for XRP like this, while the relative strength index comes back up in the short term. Also, the stochastic RSI as well too comes back up closer to 50 or even potentially 80 or higher. So just watch the price action on the chart, because if we don't see a sharp V-shaped recovery like this, it's super important to look at the candles as well too, because we want to see institutional demand right now. Like in the next candle or two on the 30-minute, I want to see this price get aggressively bought up like this while the RSI makes a sharp recovery and the stochastic makes a sharp recovery. If we don't see that happen and you're watching the price chart over the next like few hours right here, and we're just doing something like this where we have these like weak candles coming in like this, and it's not just boom, massive green candle, very similar to what we saw happen back here, where you see these massive green candles come in aggressively with these big candle bodies. That's what you want to see, is some big candle bodies for institutional demand. But just be very careful, because if you see these smaller green candles like this on the recovery, and it's not just an aggressive V-shape, then it looks something like this, where the relative strength index makes a short-term recovery. The stochastic RSI as well too makes a recovery and a bounce back up like what we saw here. But then that it leads to an inevitable bearish cross and a rejection in a downtrend for a final sell-off to a lower low. And then we look for divergences. So where we're at right now is a very pivotal point for XRP. So watch the candles and see over the next few 30-minute candles if it's an aggressive buy up back here to like $3.20. If it's not, and if it takes any extended period of time and we just do something like this where we just kind of roll over like this while the stochastic RSI resets back up here, if we're like right around $3.18 or below $3.20 and the stochastic RSI is up here, just get ready for a lower low for XRP, because then the RSI would make a recovery like this and then experience some type of higher low for a bullish divergence. And then the stochastic RSI might form a bullish divergence as well too. So for me personally, to be extremely bullish on XRP, I would want to see something like this taking place, for price to roll over, experiencing a final low, sweep out these levels all the way down here for us to experience a bigger bounce. Now, in my video, I did talk about how it's possible for XRP to sweep the lows all the way down here, which is basically at like $3 at these levels down here. But we're not quite there yet. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be covering XRP nearly every single day. Because if this move takes place and XRP, let's say, rolls around to the downside and we experience a lower low on the price chart, but a higher low on the relative strength index, then we'll be looking at these levels down here around $3.10. But for now, I'm personally expecting a short-term recovery for XRP, and we're just going to see if it's a sharp V-shaped recovery or if it's a weak lackluster recovery with these small green candle body closes. So if you guys want to screenshot this divergence cheat sheet right here, it's a very simple bullish and bearish, regular and hidden divergence that you can use. And when you memorize this and you look at this on the chart, you can see it on different time frames. For example, if we zoom in even further right here, let's just go into the 5-minute chart, which I rarely use for analysis. I use the 5-minute chart to get better entry points though, but I'll give you an example of what a bullish divergence looks like just right here. And so similar to what I just shared with you guys with a short-term recovery bounce and then just like a weak follow through on that for XRP with these candles right here, an indecision between the bulls and the bears. Well, what that looks like right here is on the recovery for XRP from $3.17 to $3.20, and then it just rolls around and kind of hovers right here. Look at what happened on the stochastic RSI. We experienced a bullish cross right here. The stochastic comes all the way back up to 80. And then when we're above 80 and we're not recovered rapidly back to levels that we were at post sell-off within this range right here, and if we're just rolling over like this right here, forming just another lower high than that recovery rally, and the stochastic is up here, that's erring on the side of caution, because then we experience massive sell-offs to the downside. And so how do you get a better entry point? Well, you look at the lows. So you see the low right here at $3.17. Then we experienced a lower low at $3.14 right here. Then we look at the relative strength index. Where was the lowest low on the RSI? Well, we were about right here at like 23. And so on this lower low, well, the RSI bounced to about 28. That's a bullish divergence. Now, the next thing we want to look for is confluence on the stochastic RSI to see if we see another bullish divergence. And sure enough, if we just line up these lows right here, we see another bullish divergence. So that tells me on the 5-minute chart that XRP is going to make a short-term temporary recovery. And so we need to watch these candles. If it's a recovery like this, we need to clear these highs right here. If we don't, and we just roll over like this, and XRP just does something like this, and it's a weak recovery, and on the 30-minute, as we zoom out, like I just mentioned to you guys, the RSI experiences a bounce like this, and the stochastic comes all the way back up here, closer to 80, and the price is not up above $3.20, then err on the side of caution, because this could be another bullish divergence to the downside on a more macro time frame that we're setting up for here before inevitable reversal to the upside. And it would look something like this. So watch the stochastic, watch the relative strength index, and also watch the price chart for how this recovery plays out, because I'm probably not going to make a video for another 24 hours. I got business to run. I got stuff to take care of as well too, but we are rallying into the zone that was support for a long period of time for XRP as resistance right now. So if we do not clear this zone and hold it for multiple like 30-minute to hour-long candles at a time like this, and if it's not an aggressive recovery to the upside, just be cautious here. Don't be FOMOing in so much money into XRP right now, because it could be just a failed recovery rally for inevitable bottoming formation for XRP before we reverse back to the upside. So it's still too premature right now to go all in on XRP, but nonetheless, we could see that a bullish divergence could be setting up. So have you built a crypto portfolio over $1 million but want to access your wealth without selling any of your coins? Well, imagine unlocking up to 85% of your portfolio's value to fund ventures like real estate, to buy other projects in the crypto space that are undervalued compared to the projects that you currently hold, or to diversify into different DeFi yield opportunities. That way you can live on the interest without selling any of your crypto. Well, we've partnered with a leading global office offering non-recourse crypto loans for investors with portfolios starting at $1 million. The same company that is trusted by the world's largest institutions and investors, because as you already know, the billionaires don't sell their crypto, they borrow against it. So if you're ready to unlock up to 85% of your portfolio's value without selling any of your coins, and you have a portfolio with at least $1 million, then email us at team@bullrunners.com. You're going to see our email contact in the description below, and we'll get you connected with the company that has helped clients like ours north of $100 million borrow against their crypto without selling any of it. So reach out to start a conversation with our team right now at team@bullrunners.com, and we'll talk to you soon. From a fundamental perspective, we do have some bullish catalysts on the horizon, but let's talk about what's causing this sell-off right now, the uncertainty in the market before the FOM speech, and what to expect next. Listen to what Charles Hoskinson just said if you hold XRP.
So here's what we're going to do with Midnight, launching soon. We're going to do a token drop, airdrop, called Glacier Drop, brand new distribution mechanism. And if you hold Bitcoin, Ether, Cardano, XRP, if you hold Avalanche, BNB, if you hold Brave, because we like the bats people, if you hold any of these ecosystems, you already have it. Congratulations. It's for free. Just airdrop it to 37 million accounts. And you can do whatever the hell you want to do with it. You can ignore it and put it in the corner like a lonely dog. You can sell it, you can burn it, you can say, I really hate that Charles Hoskinson guy, so I'm just going to find a way to weaponize it against him. I don't give a shit. It's yours, it's your property. Anybody can take it. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring the entire industry together. It's going to bring all the people together. And it's going to give them a new way of thinking about things. The other magical part of it is the dual tokenomics model that we have. The idea of having a token and a capacity unit, which means that you can pay in any asset you want, and just works.
So you guys will notice on Total 2's price chart with altcoins that all these markets move together. So if XRP is selling off hard, you better believe that like Ethereum's selling off and other altcoins are selling off too. And sure enough, the whole industry pulled back from $1.4 trillion to 1.5. So $400 billion were wiped out of the market really quick. The RSI pulled back to 33 on the hour, and the stochastic is all the way down here at like 5 and 1. So it's likely that we experience a recovery rally. So I would want to see a V-shaped recovery. Like I just mentioned on XRP's chart, it's the exact same thing on the Total 2 chart. We can see this green candle coming in right here. We will see if it's a bullish engulfing or not, because this massive red candle right here, we want to see the bulls step in aggressively over the next hour and have this candle close somewhere above $1.51 trillion. If that doesn't happen, then momentum is just in favor of the bears to push the price of most crypto assets lower. And then we'll be looking for some type of bottoming formation, whether it's a higher low or a lower low on the price chart. Because usually when we see these bounces like this, we see another type of sell-off for another low. So we're not out of the woods just yet for Total 2, but that's why it pays to be patient and have some cash on the sideline so you can be able to capitalize when you do spot a bullish divergence. And so if you hedge your portfolio when you see bearish divergences, that just gives you more money to play around with. And also, if you take advantage of our airdrop picks inside of Altcoin Pro University, you guys can be able to capitalize on basically free money by holding certain projects. So if you click the link below, go into the community section right here, click on airdrop picks, you guys are going to see the upcoming airdrops like what Charles Hoskinson just announced. So what's causing this sell-off? Well, it's uncertainty over the next few days because this week is stacked with trade balance, consumer confidence, ADP jobs report, GDP, FOMC, plus Jerome Powell's guidance and what he's going to say. And that's just before Thursday and Friday. So with these things taking place right here and nobody knowing what Jerome Powell's going to say right now, there are expectations. And the expectations is that 97.4% of the CME group are expecting Powell to keep rates steady. So if he says that the economy is holding up well, things are looking great, and we'll be looking to lower rates by September's meeting, if he hints at that, well, then I would expect markets to make an aggressive recovery. If he doesn't say that and he's not hinting at rate cuts by September, well, then if we look at September's odds, 60% are expecting a rate cut. So if this shifts back over here to 425 to 450 basis points, then that's not the most bullish thing for the market because people want rate cuts. I mean, Trump wants him to cut rates. Everyone wants him to cut rates, and he's just doing the exact opposite. So who knows who's in Jerome Powell's pocket paying him to stall rate cuts here? Maybe it's Democrats that don't want the Republicans to look good for midterms. Who knows? But nonetheless, whatever's happening in the short term is just noise because they cannot stop the macro train that's leaving the station, as Rosie Rios said. Listen to what she said in this clip right here at Bitcoin 2025.
In terms of giving that green light for innovation to actually happen, you're going to hear me say a lot, the train has left the station. So, thank you. Bitcoin is here to stay. Blockchain is here to stay. And, the unfortunate part about government traditionally, it doesn't lead, it follows. And a lot of it is because you don't have a lot of the kind of the subject matter experts who are literally coming into government. And so that's why the fact that this administration has taken the lead to form these task forces to actually bring business and the expertise into those conversations, we're literally playing catch up from the last 10 years where things didn't happen. Now things are happening. And the fact that there's now this momentum, that clarity is going to happen now for the very first time. Crypto has been in the news time and time again, and I just want to share that I am on the board of Ripple. Ripple is XRP. And so when people ask me the question, why did you join the board of Ripple? I joined the board of Ripple because XRP serves a purpose. It's a function that facilitates cross-border payments. It's not some store of value, kind of arbitrary value that is not pegged to anything. This is actually what legitimate financial institutions use specifically for cross-border payments. So instead of days and dollars, it's seconds and cents. And that is the future, in my opinion.
So there's plenty of other reasons why I'm extremely bullish on XRP, but XRP is still going to follow Bitcoin's price action. If Bitcoin sells off, XRP and the rest of the market's going to sell off. If Bitcoin breaks out, XRP and the rest of the market's going to break out. So on the daily chart, just watch these daily candle closes right here. If we see Bitcoin break to the downside of this ascending support right here, and we see a daily candle close below and a potential back test like this, then just be very careful because we could experience a further sell-off to the downside for Bitcoin. And the support right here is all the way at around $111,000. Now, on the contrary, if we break to the upside of this descending resistance and we see a back test like this, that's an extremely bullish signal that Bitcoin is going to send it higher. So the smartest investors, they wait for a breakout and a back test while simultaneously stacking that for confluence with divergences on the key indicators. And so you can apply this to XRP, you can apply this to Bitcoin. And right now, while I'm making this video, sure enough, we're seeing XRP make an aggressive rally right here. So we will see if XRP stops at $3.20-ish or if it blasts right through it, because if it stops and it rolls around like this and it does something like this while the stochastic RSI has reset up here, err on the side of caution. What we want to see is something like this take place where it comes all the way back up to these prior levels. So I want to see XRP come all the way, honestly, all the way back up here at like $3.30 while the stochastic RSI resets. If we're seeing this take place and then we're all the way up here above 80, that's actually a really good sign that we'll just consolidate at these levels before continuing higher. So I want to see aggressive recovery for XRP into this range while the stochastic recovers, while the relative strength index comes back up, and then volatility right around this range before we continue higher. If we don't see that and it's a very weak recovery for XRP and we just kind of roll over and do something like this while the stochastic RSI is up here, then err on the side of caution for a final lower low and an inevitable bullish divergence for the best entry point for yourself, which I will make videos about. So I hope you guys got value out of this video. And before you go anywhere, I have an important question for those of you out there that hold a lot of crypto. Have you built a crypto portfolio over $1 million, but want to access your wealth without selling any of your coins? Well, imagine unlocking up to 85% of your portfolio's value to fund ventures like real estate, to buy other projects in the crypto space that are undervalued compared to the projects that you currently hold, or to diversify into different DeFi yield opportunities. That way you can live on the interest without selling any of your crypto. Well, we've partnered with a leading global office offering non-recourse crypto loans for investors with portfolios starting at $1 million. The same company that is trusted by the world's largest institutions and investors because, as you already know, the billionaires don't sell their crypto, they borrow against it. So if you're ready to unlock up to 85% of your portfolio's value without selling any of your coins and you have a portfolio with at least $1 million, then email us at team@bullrunners.com. You're going to see our email contact in the description below, and we'll get you connected with the company that has helped clients like ours north of $100 million borrow against their crypto without selling any of it. So reach out to start a conversation with our team right now at team@bullrunners.com, and we'll talk to you soon.